I thought to do the same thing as I told you on Messenger.
Yeah. Okay, so we're live. As far as I can tell, everything's working. So, welcome everybody to the 39th episode of the TMF Picnic. We have my friend Hugo Hamel here.
Yeah.
He's a really great guy. He started his technical entrepreneurial journey super early in life. I think you told me you were 13 when you for the first time you built a website. That's crazy.
Yeah.
When you were 15, you already had a business. Then you somehow got hired by Yellow Pages to do growth hacking. I didn't even know if those guys did any growth hacking. And then now you have this crazy business. And I was just looking at it the other day, and I was like, you know what? All of this sounds like some good shit. Like I should probably learn a little bit about this personalization shit, learn a little bit about what the options are, because honestly, I felt like, oh my god, I'm so stupid. I have no idea. How to do all of this. So
you're making me blush.
Well, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but my first question is always like, okay, I've given you this little introduction. What is like number one thing people should know about you that I haven't covered yet?
Wow. It's a quite hard question. I mean, I'm a quite discreet person, so I don't like to like talk too much about myself. So it's quite like haven't really developed the skills of like talking about myself much. That's one of the reasons why some people might be surprised of like some of my story of like where I started. I mean, I would say that like something that people don't know. I mean, I'm from Canada. I'm from I'm from the winter side of the of the earth. So no, I really don't know so far. Like it's really hard. It's a tricky question.
Tell me a little bit about your first business. So because like when I was 15, I was doing two things. I was going to school way too tired and just like basically sleeping on my desk all day. And then the second thing I was doing jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't like if a businessman hit me in the face. I wouldn't have been able to understand that's a businessman. You know. So somehow you grew up and you're 15 and you got some kind of crazy business where you're putting together servers and all this kind of stuff. Like, tell me, like, how did that happen? Like, what do you guys do?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, the meme, I didn't choose the thug life, the thug life chose me. Well, that's kind of what happened with entrepreneurship. Well, I started like just a little background. I started doing, as you said, website when I was 13. It was just for I'm in need. I was playing Xbox Live. We were having like clans and we were doing matches against other teams. I was playing Rainbow Six Siege. That's Siege, Rainbow Six Black Arrow actually. And I just started like creating websites for the clan, like to have like a more professional side. And then like 2 years after, I was working at Staples, and one guy that I was belonging well with him, he already had some servers for game servers, and basically we kind of bond so well that like, he proposed me to start a business because one of his server broke. So he said, like, well, it's a good timing to kind of redo everything. So I started a business with him, and he had a more technical background, but I had like a good, let's say, like business mindset at the time already, and I already had some great like web designing and web development side. So I kind of learned the server part a bit as it go. But since I was already playing on Strike Source a while ago, I already knew a little bit about servers. So basically, that's kind of how it started. Like it's kind of like I didn't really like knew what was entrepreneurship at the time. I just like it happened. Like I discovered that okay, I can have a business. I can have my own project. It's so nice, so amazing. It's like I want to have my little baby. Like that's kind of like how it happened. It was like out of the blue. I love entrepreneurship and I want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Do you think if your friends hadn't been like, yo, let's do some business shit, you think you would have still ended up where you're at now, or you think you would have just like gone into like the regular system and like follow what's expected of you?
I mean, I've always been let's say a black sheep of the society. Like for example, when I first, because at school basically I did computer science, and then after 2 years of computer science I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do something more creative. So let's go. I just changed program and I went to do web development, where I like the first year of my program, I knew almost everything. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, why am I still here? And then at university, because like just parenthesis, here in Quebec we have a different school system.
Okay.
And when I went to university, I did like one session in business administration. I was like, no, that's not for me. It's either I drop out of school or I find another way. And I found another way to have a bachelor, which is like I created my own bachelor. It's just like 90 credits, and like of course that you choose, and you have like literally a bachelor like I've created myself. I was the only student in it, so it was quite interesting.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I noticed. I noticed this with a lot of like the people we have on the show and like my entrepreneur friends. Like some of them have most of them have degrees, some of them don't. But everybody is kind of like figured out like their own sneaky way of going through the system. You know, like very few of us like they're just like, okay, let's go to school and I'll do it, and then I'm in the world. Like there's always like something a little bit interesting about it. I
Yeah.
was also thinking about something. You just talked about like having like the servers and stuff. We had Mark Metry on a few weeks ago. When he was, I think it was also 15, he also had his own servers and he made a lot of money with that. He like had some Minecraft servers.
Yeah, at the time servers were a thing, like game servers were a thing. There still are, but I think that a while ago, I mean, many years ago, like maybe 10 to 15 years ago, it was bigger, because like the cloud thing was not a thing yet, and peer-to-peer matchmaking were not neither that developed. So it was like everything was related and what was based on servers that were dedicated at the time. That's why I think it was a good opportunity at the time.
Did you still play a lot of games?
I don't really have much time, to be honest. I still love playing video games, but like after, let's say, 1 hour, I'm getting bored because I'm not used to it. I'm not enjoying that myself that much because I'm bad. So I don't really have the pleasure of being good at a game. But I still like it. I'm more a shooter person.
Do you feel like when you were playing all these games and setting up these little servers and stuff, like you know, like doing your what's that one service called again? But and you're like doing the little stuff like for all these years, do you feel like you got something out of that, like that you're taking with you right now?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like at the time, I didn't know at all Unix, like the Linux system. So for when I started coding, like knowing more into coding, I had a better background to know what I was doing, and also it's more like about the business part that I kind of started to know more at that time. So like that, let's say that moment when I had that business at 15 years old is kind of where I started to learn pretty much everything by myself. I was already doing that previously, but it was where it started to be more serious, where I really realized that okay, what I wanted to do was simply that I wanted to have my own project, and I have always since then had multiple projects and businesses after.
When you know, so for the people at home who don't know, by the way, you guys should put some heart emojis on the video so more people get to see it. And if you're watching this on the replay, you need to put a little hashtag replay on this. So, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask us questions. Like we have a phenomenal mind with us here to answer all your questions. So feel free to ask any questions. So when I've sent you the invites to be on the show, what you one of the things you said that really jumped out to me was like I had a bunch of businesses and pretty much all of them failed. Like in your younger years, or like not all of them, but a lot of the project went bad, right? And that happens to all of us. Like that's for sure. That happens to all of us, except maybe like Gary Vaynerchuk, you know. But so my question is like, what was like the first really hard business lesson that you learned? Like, do you remember like you're like, oh, this is gonna go
Yeah.
crazy well, and then you just you hit the wall. What was your first real like
Uh,
hard business lesson?
well, when I was 15 and I started the business with the other guy, the other guy was 21 at the time. So after like more than a year, he started to do some things in my back, and not just mine, his friends and family too. And basically, he stole some money from me. So I learned a bit the hard way, the finance, like looking at into your finance and not always trust everyone too easily. That's the first lesson that I learned. But at least it turned out well. I was 15 years old, and I went to his parents' house, and I knock on the door, and I say, "Well, I think we have a problem." Yeah, but well, his parents told me, "Well, it's like we tried to reach you for the last the past 2 weeks, so like they knew that something was going on." So everything got fixed. I lost no money in the end, but I mean, I could have gone played quite well by that guy. By one thing, basically like the main thing I learned is that, and to also like be more careful about who I'm in business with, and like I just learned experience out of it. I didn't lose anything, gladly, but I learned lots of experience out of it.
If you'd have to give some advice to the people at home, like maybe they're going to partner up with some people for the first time, maybe they want to start their first business. What do you think they should be looking out for, like in a partner? Like,
good question. I mean, there's so many things. There's like the trust that you build with that person, but there's also like I would say like sometimes be careful with your friends, because like when it go well, it's like a couple. Basically, being in a relationship is like starting a business at some point. Like you need to build some trust, but also you need to make sure that if something turns out not going well, to make sure that person won't like stab you in the back. Because like when it's one mistake that most people do sometimes, especially in like in the startup field, they start doing like coding and developing stuff, and then they realize that they haven't like discussed about equity in like shares, and like everyone wants to have their equal part, but not everyone have contributed equally. So sometimes it's something that is tricky on that. So there's a book, it's called Slicing Pie, I think, the name.
Pie.
Yeah, and that book is about like kind of the more you work, the more share you can have. The less you work, the less share you're gonna have. So it's based on more like the amount of work and value that you've provided to the project or to business, to the startup, however we call it, that you're gonna have more shares. So it's not like, okay, like we're two, so it's 50-50. No, it's like, okay, we're two, but who worked the most?
Okay, that's interesting. So tell me a little bit about like your experience at Yellow Pages. Like okay, so I'll just give you some context for my question. Yeah. This is how I see Yellow Pages. There's like a big fat book that comes up on their doorway like once every 6 months or whatever, and then we're like, oh, this is very useful. Then we put it somewhere, we never look at it, and then the new version of that is like, okay, what is the telephone number of a Chinese restaurant down the streets? Google it. Okay, so they haven't managed to put this in Google yet. Okay, I'll go and look at the Yellow Pages. And okay, here's the phone number. And that's all I know about Yellow Pages. So what the fuck did you do over there?
Well, like it all started. I didn't know neither that the Yellow Pages had growth hacker, to be honest. It all started when like Yellow Pages, one of the recruiter of Yellow Pages reached out to me on LinkedIn and say, well, we have a position for you. Would you be interested? I was like, oh, well, why not? Like, let's try to growth hack the shit out of the Yellow Pages. Because like, as you said, Yellow Pages is a big fat book, and not much people know well about like what they're doing else. That's pretty much the only thing that we know about them. Their book that is pretty much like used for kids to put them higher on the chair or stuff like that. But like the thing about Yellow Pages here in Canada is that the department, the digital team that I was working in was like the how do you call it in Asterix, the village where they're coming from, the Gaulois in French. Basically the village of where Asterix and Obelix are coming from.
Oh yeah, Gaulois,
yeah, Gaulois, yeah. Is like what the digital team was for Yellow Pages. We were literally the startup mindset and the like disruptors of the company, and all outside of that team, it was like super cooperative, super like governmental. It was really slow. So we were kind of perceived not well by the other ones because we were already doing some agile stuff while they were starting to learn what was agile. So basically, what I was working there mainly was on acquisition for their Yellow Pages app. So it was mobile acquisition for iOS and Android. I was doing there.
That must have been a challenge, though. Like was there like who the fuck want to get that app? Like
yeah, absolutely. It was a huge challenge. Like, to be honest, it was really hard to at first when I first started, I didn't know much Yellow Pages as most people, and it was harder to growth hack it. But like the more you know it, the more you discover the users, the more I was been able to understand what was their need, and basically we discovered some features that they were that people really liking, and they were willing to download the app for it, and that's why we focused on that. That's otherwise we would have not really been able to acquire much users.
So what do you learn from your time there? Because like it's a super unique experience. Like like the chances of me ever being hired by fucking Yellow Pages is zero. Like what do you learn from being like this disruptive little parts in like this huge ass company that basically has been doing things the same way for like last, I don't know, 150 years. Like what do you learn from that? Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what I learned the most is politics, I would say, because like everything you do kind of need to be justified into something that is politically correct for more corporate people, because growth hackers are playing quite well on the gray line, and sometimes they want to go on the other side, and there's also the legal stuff that you need to make sure with lawyers from the company, like to make sure that like what you do is legal and that you can do it. So that's I would say that's the biggest part that I've learned from Yellow Pages. But apart from that, also I would say that was one of the first time in my life that I had like huge budget for also acquisitions. So apart from that, I would say that's like Yellow Pages. Like we couldn't do much like to like not legit stuff. We had the lawyers on our back otherwise.
Yeah. So you're like, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna scrape some fucking emails and I'm gonna email the shit out of them, and then if they don't respond, I'm gonna send a message on LinkedIn, and they're like, yo, like that you can't do that, Hugo. Like you gotta chill out. Like can't you like optimize the sliding page a little bit? Like living like this.
Yeah. It was almost like that. Like we had to respect so much the email legislation here in Canada, which is called Castle. And like if you didn't have a double opt-in, if you didn't legitimately got their emails, like, oh, I'm not sure if we can do that.
Yeah. You're like, fuck that shit. I'm just gonna scrape you out or something. You know?
Almost, yeah.
Amazing. And then you told me that when so the basic got rid of your departments because they were like, fuck you, we're just gonna print books or whatever. But then your supervisor, he told you like, look, Hugo, you're very good at, I think it was personalization and one other thing.
Analytics, yeah.
And then analytics. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, like, first of all, why did you think you were good at it? And then what do you like enjoy about personalization and analytics? Like, what makes it so fascinating for you?
I mean, like the first time when he proposed me the job, like he asked me like what I'm good at to know a bit more like what was my strengths. And I said personalization and analytics because I have a strong background in web development since I used to be a web developer first. And I also specialize into conversion optimization. But there's also the fact that I am a foodie. So for me, delivering experience is something that is really important. For example, if I go in a restaurant, I want to have like the experience of a foodie. So for me, it's really important to be cared of, like that someone take care of you. And here in Canada, especially where I am in Quebec, there's not much restaurants that are able to deliver a great experience. One place I went, they had a reservation under my name. They came to the table. They said, "Hi, Mr. Hamel. Hi, ladies," because I was with my girlfriend and friends. So it's like just this little thing is like what you can do to create like a major like wow moment. And for me, that's what I like to do, to kind of make people feel special. And that's why I care about personalization. That's why I love to like deliver experience that are relevant for the user. And the analytics part comes from my organized mindset, and the way that I'm structured. I would say, my girlfriend would say that I'm OCD, but I live well with it. And like those two combined together, it's what makes a great experience, because you're able to track well your stuff, and you're able to have that right data to then personalize the experience to deliver it to the user to literally like have an experience that is relevant for that person. It's all about like segmentations, and segmentations like folders, and folders is like organizations. So it goes well together.
So, okay, so I want to ask, like, do people in the audience, like, well, I'm looking up there, but
yeah, you have two screens. That's fine.
Yeah. So anybody in the audience, like, have you ever had like a really nice experience with like being approached in a super personalized way, like maybe at the restaurant, like a really nice personalized approach, or some kind of cool email you got, or some kind of website? Like, if you had any cool experiences with personalization, please let us know, because it would be nice for us to pick it apart a little bit. But my question for you, Hugo, is like when you focus on stuff, you start seeing it everywhere, right? So what is like one personalization that you've experienced that you were like, wow, okay, so this is some good shit, like that you were really impressed by? Like, do you have any of these memories or case studies you've seen that you really thought was solid?
It's a good question, because like there's not much people these days that are doing personalization. Like there's the big players, Amazon, Facebook, like all of those big names. But like when it comes to smaller businesses, there is not much, and that's why it's interesting. And that's why like I want to make it something more like known, and I want to like educate people of why personalization is good for them. Because like, and a good example I could give that we can have many days, you know, Zoom, like the audio video conference. I was in Portugal at the time, and like I logged into I mean, I wanted to subscribe to an event on Zoom, and the webpage was in Portuguese. I mean, I know some Portuguese, but I don't speak Portuguese. And my browser is in English, and my computer is in French. So it's kind of tricky for Zoom to like know the right way to personalize. But I think that the browser setting, or at least the computer setting, should be the one that you use for a language that you're gonna show, not just the location. Because for example, if you're traveling but you still want to work, well, it doesn't mean that if you go to like Asia that you speak Asian. So that's why like there's so many personalization that can be better like done better. Another case that could be interesting is just like one that is super simple but that can be used is for B2C. It's quite simple, because like you have so many kind of different audiences, different segments. So like it's easier to see it. But when it comes to B2B, it's where it's harder, and it's where I want to like teach and educate more businesses on the B2B side. Because what you can do, you can like just look at where the person is in the sales funnel. Like, is the person on the top of the funnel or on the bottom of the funnel? Top of funnel, you show content that is more informative, that is more like brand awareness, like to build your trust. And at the bottom of funnel, you want that person to buy. So you're going to show content that is more content and call to action, basically, that are more oriented to ordering, or to asking for a quote, or to buy the product, or whatever. So like there's all of that step that you can show. It can just be for a course, if you're selling a course, like the beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and even expert if you want. So like depending of where you are in the funnel and what are your steps, where you are in the steps, you can just like decide to change the content of the website to just show you what is interesting. If you are doing a blog post, depending of from where the person is coming from, or from the interest that the person has shown on your website, you can decide to change the content of your blog post. Well, it's like choose your own adventure book, but like on a blog. So if you're more interested into cat than dog, well, the blog post can change all of the cat keywords for dogs, or dogs for cat. Just like you can just change the story based on who the person is, so the person is gonna like you more at some point, like, and it's gonna increase the conversion, because the more the person find the experience relevant for you, for them, sorry, the more they're gonna be willing to be confident into buying from you.
So could you like give me like a real life example of like some kind of like personalization campaign that you've done, or just like or like an example somebody else has done, like something that really happened, because I want to like really get a solid sense of it.
Yeah. I mean, do you prefer B2B or B2C?
Let's talk B2B. I love B2B.
Okay, B2B. Let's go into an example I like. Let's say you're selling. It was an example of that I have, but someone that I work for. Like you're selling bottles of any type, like glass bottles. You have maple syrup, you have beer, you have wine, you have what other type of bottle? Anyway, you have those 3 bottles. And those bottles have different type of pressure. They have different type of size and different type of liquid. So basically, when the company arrives on your website, you can find a way that it can be like just a pop-up. It can be just like a quiz. It can be just by the behavior that they have on your website based on what they're interested into. It can also be, let's say, from the location. If you know that in a specific area there's loads of people that are buyers, like big buyers or smaller buyers, you can like look into that. But like the point is to know what they are interested into and then change and restructure the website for them. So in that case, it would be if they're more interested into, let's say, wine bottles. Well, they have like different type of size, different type of shape and pressure. So if they're a bigger buyer, well, you can show them like pricing that are more like that are lower. Or if they're more interested into bigger bottles, well, you can just show them the bigger bottles and then just mention like we also have small bottles for your like samples need. Can be like that type of things. And this is just for the let's say the beginning when they arrive on the website based on their behavior. And then what you can do is if you have like some specification sheets, so if the person have downloaded the specification sheets of that bottle, then the next time that they come back, it can be oh, okay, we're having a special deal for that special bottle. Would you be interested, or would you like to speak to an expert since you already know a little bit more about the specification sheet, or would you like to have a quote? Like there's so many use cases that we can do just based on on what the business needs are from the company.
So it sounds to me like that the whole point is to kind of like figure out, okay, who's actually looking at this right now, and what do they need? What do they need from us? What do they care about? And like giving it to them rather than just like giving everybody the same like visuals. I think we actually got some questions, or at least we got some responses. So I'm gonna go over to my other screen. So we have my friend Ivana. She says, a couple of years ago, the Body Shop traced the products I bought during the winter and then offered me a summer pack. They also had kind of analyzed my skin type based on what I bought, and that was so cool. So that's pretty crazy.
Absolutely. And the B2C, like Sephora, they've done a good example for that. Basically, you choose the color of your skin, and you choose this, like the specification of your skin, or do you have sensitive skin, stuff like that. And then after that, all the products on the website are going to be like just all relevant for the answer that you've given. So on an e-commerce website, I would say not having personalization is almost a no-brainer.
I just remember this famous case study. I think it was Tesco, and they had like some kind of membership program where and they track everything you buy, and then they had such strong like analytics that they could figure out, okay, this person is pregnant, and then they would start sending them like advertisement for like diapers and stuff. And there was like this moment, if I remember correctly, that a dad like the father of the girl started getting all these advertisements like, yo, like my daughter is not pregnant, like please leave us alone. And then it turned out that she was actually pregnant, and it was just like the store was better able to figure out what was going on with this person than their own dad. Like, it's
Yeah.
so crazy.
Absolutely, that's actually the bad side of personalization. Like when you personalize so much, like you become creepy. That's not what that's like. Even though it's great because like it shows that we can do so many things with personalization, but like that's where you need to kind of put in like a limit that you should not pass. Otherwise, you're gonna just become creepy, and it's gonna be just so awkward for everyone. It's like, for example, if you are having let's say okay, let's go in a super fun example, but if you have penis enlargement ads and it's like on every site you see that, well, it's might not be something that you want to be, like that you have all of your website like with all of the personalized penis enlargement ads. Like you want something that is more delicate because you don't want everyone to know that type of stuff.
Yeah, and it raised an interesting topic, like because like 2018, and especially in Europe, everybody's like talking about like privacy. Everybody's like talking about like, oh, what should I do with my data? What data do people have about me? Like, how should I protect my data? Like this has been such a hot topic as of late. Like, what should we do with all this data? Where's the border? Do you have any thoughts about this? Like, when do you think it's too much?
I mean, when it becomes too much is when I would say when you know too much and when you use too much. Like an example, a real life example would be, let's say I don't know you. I mean, you don't know me, but I know you. Like I've stalked you so much that I know where you live. I know your name. I know who are your friends. I know the name of your mom, the name of your father, and
Yeah.
everything. Like this is just creepy because like the person is gonna be like, well, you know me so much, but I know nothing about you. Like, what the hell? Who the hell are you? So this is kind of the line. It's more like what you wouldn't do in real life, just don't do it online. I
Yeah,
would say
but basically, you know all of those things if you look at my Facebook profile for like 5 seconds. How do you deal with your own data? Do you like protect yourself? Are you like nobody's supposed to know this kind of shit, or are you just like fuck it, everybody can know everything?
I mean, everyone is kind of aware that like privacy is a thing, and you don't want to be like too known at some point. But I would say that like almost everyone wants to have a personalized experience, like just relevant ads, relevant news feed on Facebook, or like whatever other platform you're in. So even though we don't want to be tracked too much, we kind of have no choice to accept and live with it. And most people are fine with it. I mean, as long as it's properly used and as long as it's done for your own good, that I don't think that people, from all the statistics and reports that I've read, people are willing to give their data, even though they know like they can have some privacy issues after. Like even like being private and hidden is almost impossible. Like I was reading a book another time about the art of being invisible, and it's almost impossible to be invisible these days. Like there's so many ways of like being tracked down after. So yeah.
What do you think about the Cambridge Analytica stuff?
I mean, they kind of search for trouble, in my opinion. Like they did something wrong from the beginning, and they just continue to do it because no one was stopping them. But like, I just think that it wasn't right what they did, and like to start over, they would probably not do the same thing. But the thing is that they had the permission to do it at some point, so they were allowed to do it. But I mean, we all make mistakes at some point, and Facebook and Cambridge Analytica have learned from it.
Have you ever like been working for a company and you're like looking at their data set and you're like, you guys know a lot of stuff, guys. Like maybe it's time to calm down. Maybe you don't need to know all these things. Like, have you ever had a moment like this?
Not yet, not yet. Even at Yellow Pages, I mean, I was not aware of all of the data that we were having at Yellow Pages. But what I can tell you is that we were partnering up with some companies, and we were kind of sharing data at some point, because Yellow Pages is quite a huge database for businesses. So and that's the only thing that I know about all of that. but I haven't really faced any type of problem like that where I was like, whoa, your data is kind of way too intense. You should kind of chill a little bit. No.
So if somebody comes to your company, Enrich, do you say Enrich or do you say Enrich 3, or how do you pronounce it?
It's Enrich 3. Basically, it comes from, like, the name comes from enrichment 3. Like trees, like the plant, and like, just because like personalization is about like the kind of diagram of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and that's kind of what personalization is, because it's all rule based.
If a company comes to you, like what does it look like? What's your process like? And who what would be a good client for you? Like would a marketing agency be a good client for you, or like what kind of clients do you work with?
Pretty much like all businesses that have either multiple services, multiple products, or multiple audiences is the right type of businesses to do personalization in. Like as I said, in pretty much everything, personalization can be used. For sure that there is use cases that are more relevant. Some cases are less relevant, but you can do it in pretty much everything almost.
Yeah, so imagine like a really cool company walks up to you. Let's say they make like mobile games for or whatever, like a really cool company. They sell some really dope software or whatever. They walk up to you like, Hugo, I need some of that good old personalization. Like, what's the steps you take them through? Like, because I'm like trying to really understand like what is all the stuff all about. You know, like how does this work? You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's about like 5 steps. The first one is to know well the company, audience, competitors. Basically, like just go in the same bath, in the same shoe as the company is. Just know the business, and then you look at like what they've done, what they are doing, and that what worked and what didn't work, and based on all of that, you kind of structure how you want to, like, what are the business goals, what are the KPIs, and from there on, like, you're able to focus a little bit more on personalization, because personalization is the same thing as doing conversion optimization. It's just like a smarter way of doing conversion optimization, basically. So basically, you're gonna either do A/B testing, but A/B testing for different type of segments. You're gonna optimize the conversions, but based on a specific KPI and specific audience. So let's say you have marketing agency. It can be the different type of industries that you have, and you just want to like personalize your message that you have of the service that you sell, depending of the industry that you're offering your services to. And then from there, you make a plan of what you want to personalize, and then you implement it, and then you test it, and then you optimize based on the results. So it's definitely the same type of process as doing conversion optimization. Like we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just making something better with a better user experience. That's where we are.
What's something people don't get about personalization? Like people, I guess most people don't talk around the dinner table about personalization, but like still, like people talk about it. It's a hype word. Today I was at like a conference. Heard like personalization like 20 times. I didn't really feel like these people necessarily were experts at personalization. Like, what's something people are saying that's not really correct? Like grind your gears a little bit.
I would say that like most people just don't know what is personalization. Everyone knows what is personalization, but no one really knows it. Like there's so many people that would say, oh yeah, I know personalization, like you can do that and that, but like not much people know how to do it in a non e-commerce way. Like if you want to have an example of Amazon, okay, like you have similar products, or you have other people like you have bought these products. Okay, yeah, like you can do that, but like you just have to open a Shopify account and add one or two little add-ons or plugins, and you can have personalization. Yeah, but you can push it so much further that it's when people kind of forget that like personalization is much more than just product recommendation. And for me, I'm like, well, if you knew what you can do, well, you would really know what personalization is, because like personalization, you can do it at so many different levels. You can do it as I talked earlier, like on something like super basic or something super advanced and super deep, by like super like fragmenting all of your segments into smaller segments, and those ones into smaller segments, and like literally having almost one person in every of your segments, and like they all are gonna have a different experience, because as I said earlier, everyone wants to be considered as an important person, but like not much people really deliver that experience, especially in B2B. B2C a bit more because they have no choice to differentiate themselves from their competitors. But in B2B, people like forget that when they are dealing with a business, they are dealing with a human. It's human to human. There's no B2B or B2C. It's always H to H. It's human to human. So in every cases, you want to deliver the right experience, and you want to like make it interesting for that person, because you need to convince a human for that person to trust you, and then that person to report to its boss, or like to the whatever person you need to report to convince that other person that you're the right solution for them. So whatever type of business you're doing, you need to have like to kind of connect more individually with that person.
So that's an interesting point. So how do you use personalization for your own business? Because you're basically an agency, right? Like you're a service provider. So how do you use personalization for yourself? Like, could you like give me a little bit of insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, you actually tried recently one of them.
About your ebook, right?
I mean, there's the ebook, yeah, indeed, but there's also the lem list situation that you tried it recently with Sonny. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Basically, there's many ways. Like we cover website, landing page, email, video, paid advertising, and social media in the agency. But like there's different ways of doing it. Let's say if you do LinkedIn. LinkedIn messaging for social selling, you can decide to have a specific URL that is different for everyone, and you have parameters in the URL like Staffo, and then the URL of your picture, and let's say the company you're working for. With that, you shorten the URL, and then everyone in their message they are going to receive, they're going to have a different link. So every time they're going to click, you're going to be able to send data from LinkedIn to your website or to any other platform, because the point is to centralize the data that you have of that visitor. So you can do it with a CRM or with a marketing automation tool, or just using some personalization tool that already have those types of kind of database embedded inside. So that's one thing you can do with LinkedIn. With emails, well, there's other ways that you can use personalized memes. You can use the basic ones is the like hello Staffo, like hello first name. It's kind of the basic one, but you can push it much further. Those that doesn't know lem list, I would say that's a tool that I would recommend. Some tools that we're using. Yeah. Shoot out to Guillaume.
Yeah, Guillaume's off. He's been on the show too.
Yeah, I know. I watched that one, and like there is many tools that you can do, and you can also have emails with kind of dynamic content. So, for example, if you are an airline, you can decide, and you have a loyalty program. You can decide to show in your email all of the points that you have in your account, and those points are being updated in real time. And you can have a video that is like a story. Basically, like you have a video that is personalized. It would say, "Hello, Staffo. We've seen that you've traveled to Hawaii last summer. We have a huge deal for you. And if you book right now, because you're part of our like golden club, you can have a free upgrade on your room." Like, can be that type of video. And then if you say yes in the video, you tap yes, I'm interested. Well, the next part of the video would be different for you, because it would say, "Hey, Staffo, we're ready to book you the room for you." Or if you click no, it would be like, "Oh no, we're so sad to like not see you go under the sun. You need your vitamin D. You should really go there." So like this type of stuff. And then social media and paid advertising is pretty much the same thing, but like on a just different platform.
So and this is the kind of stuff you're using for your own business as well. So
yeah.
list.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like if you would do LinkedIn automation and send everybody a specific link, that link would have to be in your CSV already, right? Like you'd have to upload it as like some custom merge tag, or how would you even send everybody if you do automated outreach on LinkedIn? How would you send everybody a different link? Like, which
Yeah,
tool would do that? Maybe
I mean,
Link Helper?
you could use linked helper, but I would say that linked helper is definitely not the ideal tool for that, because you need to have a tool that would allow you to I would recommend probably more Phantom Buster, because you have more control into the type of data that you're using, because you can kind of code it yourself. So what I would do, I would use a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet would be my merge tag,
Yeah.
like first name, last name, company, URL of the picture, and with that data, I would generate like a URL with some parameters, and after that, I would just use like an API of a URL shortener, where I would do it myself, and I would like then generate a message from all of those fields, and I would send it in bulk.
Yeah, that's how I do it as well. Although I haven't used Phantom Buster for a while now. It was great, but then I started getting kicked out of my account all the time. Then I stopped using Phantom Buster.
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is cracking down pretty much lots of tools. There's a Chrome extension. It's called I think it's Nectarius, something like that. Well, basically it's on GitHub. You can find it. It's open source. It's a Chrome extension that basically show you all of the tools that LinkedIn is recognizing. It's quite useful to know if your tool can be dangerous or not that you're using.
Well, for sure they can find all of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like you have to be stupid to think like you have to be stupid to think that they don't know. You know, they're just like they know, but they're just like, okay, keep it quiet, guys. You know, it's kind of like if you're like a teenager, like you're at some place and just guys, and it's in Canada and it's illegal. So some guys like smoking J, and some the dad's like, okay, guys, like okay, keep it cool, like don't go driving or anything. You know, and that's basically like you know, like okay, just like chill out, don't spam people too much. A nice business, please. Like for sure they know. There's no way they don't know.
Maybe sometimes that they are. I mean, I've seen that because LinkedIn is now part of Microsoft. I've seen that LinkedIn is gonna have a CRM that is being linked. I forget the name. I think it's Dynamic, the name of the CRM from Microsoft. And I know that LinkedIn is planning to integrate Dynamic, the CRM, into LinkedIn. So you're going to be able to do more like automations at some point. But maybe at some point, LinkedIn is it will allow us to like use more automation. Maybe it's gonna be part of it. Like, you know, in Canada, marijuana used to be illegal, but you know what? Now it's legal. It was just supported at the time.
Okay, so basically Canada and LinkedIn very similar.
Yeah.
So actually, now that we're talking about it for a second, like I was on your website yesterday, and I downloaded a little ebook. It looked cool. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. So tell me a little bit about that, because it looked intense. You know, what are you writing about?
I mean, the ebook is basically about the basics of personalization, of the basics of segmentation. So it's a mix of like how to take your customer journey, how to take your customer segmentations and customer experience, and how to personalize. It's kind of a mix of all of this to better understand your audience, know what type of touch point they're being involved in, and how you can segment your audience to then do some personalization. I'm not in the ebook. I'm in the ebook. I'm not really talking about like what are all the tricks and tip and tricks that you can do to personalize your website. It's more like to educate the people a little bit more about, to kind of sensitize them on like what is customer experience, what are the touch points your users are going through, how they are being involved, and to like on your company, like what type of relation you can have with them, building trust, and how you can personalize it. Like I'm giving some tricks on how you can personalize, but I'm not really going deep. Like it's really like on the surface for you to learn more the basics of micro segmenting, basically.
Okay, so we're for sure gonna make sure that the link to the book is on the feed. Oh, actually, Sonny put your HugoHamel.com website on there, but you should also put the Enrich website there, and then we'll make sure that the link to the ebook is there as well. What do you think? So my final question now. It's been very nice talking to you so far, but here's my final question. What do you think is going to happen to marketing 2019, 2020? Because so what do you think is going to happen to marketing 2019, 2020? And I'll give you a little bit of background information why I'm asking. Because today I was at this conference. It was really good, really qualified people. They had lots of interesting things to say. But mostly it's stuff that was already in Hacking Growth. And that book is not old as shit, but it's, like it's been around for a few years. So I feel like the mainstream marketing world is starting to catch up to what like the growth hackers like Sean Ellis were doing. But what's going to be the cutting edge now? Like what are they going to catch up with in 5 years?
I would say AI, to be honest.
AI?
AI and machine learning. Because the thing is, personalization is like you have many steps before doing personalization. Like you have to do your SEO, you have to do your Facebook ads, you have to do your conversion optimization, then you have to do your let's say segmentation, you have to do your personalization, and then you have the AI. And like the step after personalization is AI, but for personalization. And why is that? Is because like the longer the AI can learn the behavior on your visitors on your website, the better it's going to be for like to know what is good for what type of visitor. There's already some tools that can predict if one visitor is going to be a good buyer or not from the first visit. One of them is Matt Kudu. They're based in San Francisco, and like you can do so many things, but the thing is that right now AI is not like perfect and good enough to make to deliver that good experience. For now, a human kind of still need to be involved to look into the data, look into the behaviors, and then create some personalization out of it. Because like you can do some machine learning and AI right now with personalization, but for that you need a huge amount of traffic. That's why like only big businesses can do it really well. But in the future, it would be better for smaller businesses. But for sure, I think that the human side will still be there, but the AI and the machine learning will definitely be something like it's going to help the marketer to have a better analysis of the data, like have insights faster, that almost like pre-done insights. You're just going to open your dashboard, and you're going to know exactly what are the type of things that you need to do, some type of recommendations. Because I was at the Web Summit last November, and that's kind of where I see things going on.
Amazing. You'll let me know if this happens, right? Yeah, like you'll be like, yo, like stop what's here, like AI take you over.
Yeah, as long as it's not Skynet, we're good.
Yeah, as long as it's not like, Okay, Hugo, I had a really fun time talking to you today. It was amazing. It's actually the first time we got to be on the phone, and I've enjoyed it, and I hope we get to call again, and maybe have you on the show again sometime. I learned a lot. I thought it was super valuable. Sonny's gonna put all of your links out there on the Facebooks, so everybody can reach you if they want to. And thank you so much for being here. And I hope you're gonna have a wonderful day.
My pleasure. Thanks to you for the invite. It was really appreciated. I was a bit stressed with all the pressure to reveal, but things are well.
Oh yeah, it was fine. Like it was fine. I thought it was great.
Great.
Okay, so now I gotta go click somewhere. Well, we gotta give it like 15 seconds or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're just gonna end it. Fuck it. Oh, Sonny's laughing at something. I don't know what to. Okay, and